Hello, everyone. This is Cody Lee of BlackCatBooks.org, author of I, the Dragon, Cruel and Beautiful, Rabbit Hole, King Deal, Lauren Frey, Grim Clover, and the upcoming Jaw of the Dragon. So, with the recent decline in quality from Star Wars products, it is high time that we as fans kind of rise up and say that, Star Wars was never good. Okay, I know I just said fans, but I was never a fan of Star Wars, never really cared for it, never cared about it, and just seeing people just rapidly talk about it all the time as a kid, that probably is my first exposure to just how blindly obsessed people are with pop culture and things just because they're famous. Like, I never really understood the popularity of Star Wars, and if it wasn't for games like Rogue Squadron, I probably wouldn't be all that familiar with the IP at all. But kind of upon like upon like the release of the newer movies, upon the Disney acquisition, upon this endless cycle of people getting hyped up for a product and then being disappointed by it and then getting hyped up again, like, it really needs to be acknowledged that if the property can't sustain itself, if there's no more stories to tell, why are you still doing it? Like, why are you still trying to continue? The reality is that there is nothing more to the Star Wars saga. There are no more stories to tell. There is nothing more to the Star Wars universe. Like, it was a relatively shallow adventure story about, like, a a boy going on an adventure and overthrowing his government. That's all there really is to it. There's nothing more to Star Wars. It's not there's no philosophy to it. There's no higher ideals. It's just a stupid movie. And most people will not accept that. Cannot accept that. To them, Star Wars is a property that defined their lives, defined their childhood. They understand how evil the empire, how evil fascist states are, because of the empire, because of how they were depicted in a fucking movie, without like any real historical context as to why these kind of places rise up and why people follow those kind of leaderships. Like, the villains in Star Wars, when you get right down to it, are simply cartoonishly evil, or arguably just as bad as the Rebel Alliance. I've heard a lot of people talk about that. Is that, like, there is there is seemingly no real political ideology, no real political ideology difference between the Rebel Alliance and the Empire, right? That, like, what exactly are the rebels fighting for? Like, what exactly are they hoping to accomplish? Like, they're going to reinstate the old ways, which led to the Empire rising to begin with. Like, it doesn't. It's just a senseless conflict to spark to sell toys to children, essentially. There is no depth to it. There is no soul. There is no passion. Like, there's nothing to it. Like, Star Wars is a dead IP. Nobody wants to admit it, especially not like the IP holders, Disney's, but especially not the fans, right? Like, they've spent the past, let's see, it came out in 77, like almost 50 years now, like, hyping this thing up as one of the biggest, bestest thing in the world. But in reality, it was nothing. Like, it was nothing but a blip on the radar of our culture, our developing society, our people. Like, Star Wars is something that, in a lot of ways, has held society back because of how many man children have spent their lives being obsessed with it, getting angry over decisions made by the creative team, instead of simply not buying it anymore. That's all you had to do right from the onset, is just don't go to the prequels. Don't go to the sequel trilogy. Don't buy the cartoons. Don't buy the EU. Like, don't buy the toys. Don't buy, like, any of this stupid bullshit. But even now, I'm seeing people talk about, oh man, like, Lego Star Wars, that's so good. Oh man, I can't wait for new Star Wars movies. Like, oh man, Star Wars Legends, that's good. No. Star Wars has had no lasting appeal. Like, it is something that has been that brainwashed a bunch of stupid kids into liking it in the 70s and 90s, right? when the original movies were coming out, and now people are just refusing to let go. Like Star Wars matters more to them than their families, their religion, their country, the people around them. Like all they care about is fucking Star Wars on whether like Rey is a Skywalker or not. Who the fuck cares? Star Wars is irrelevant. It's not going anywhere. It's never coming back. It's time for America to let it die.